ceremony for the inaugural Game Connect Asia Pacific Conference. Without further ado, I would like to remind everyone that the Qantm after party is starting in approximately 15 minutes downstairs in Merivale, to which all are welcome. And without further ado, I would also like to bring to the stage Mr. Tom Crago, CEO of Tantalus and Vice President of the Game Developers Association of Australia. Mr. Tom Crago.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasant task to introduce Evelyn Richardson, once again President of the Game Developers Association of Australia. But before I do that, I thought I might take this opportunity to say a couple more words while we have everybody gathered here. I think it's been a fantastic conference. It's been said a couple of times that we've all had to come together in a relatively short space of time to put this event together. We've done that, and I think it's been a huge success. You can rest assured that next year's conference will be even bigger and better. And what we're trying to do, really, as the Game Developers Association of Australia, is to provide a conference that is run by the industry, for the industry. It is your conference. And I hope that over the course of the coming weeks you'll go away from Brisbane, reflect on this experience and think about what we can do as an industry association, as your industry association, to make this an even better event next year. I hope you go back and talk to your peers at your companies or at your universities and contribute into the mixed suggestions for next year's conference and beyond. We've achieved a great deal as a games industry association over the last few years. We've been led by Evelyn Richardson for the last 4 years, and I'm sad to have to announce that this will be Evelyn's final engagement with the Game Developers Association of Australia. She has accepted a new position with another industry association and has decided that after 4 years it's time to take on some new challenges. As a board member and as the Vice President of the Industry Association, I can't speak highly enough of Evelyn's contribution to the GDAA in the course of the 4 years that she's been at the helm. We've achieved a great deal from our representation at E3 and culminating in the organisation of this very successful conference. I'd like to invite Evelyn to the stage, and I'd like you all to join me in thanking her for her wonderful contribution and really in putting this conference together.
Thanks, Tom, for those very kind words. I appreciate them very much. Well, it's been quite a ride. When I came on board 4 years ago, I knew it was going to be an interesting journey with a young, dynamic bunch of guys, but I have to say I really had no idea what I was in store for. What was in store, I should say. And I think the best analogy I can come up with is that it was a bit like bungee jumping, in that I knew nothing about the games industry. I'd done some work in film and television, had a background in new media and IT, but games, the learning curve was enormous. But essentially, I guess I closed my eyes, took a great leap of faith, and over the top I went. And there have been a lot of highs, a lot of laughs, a few tears, some amazing moments, some very funny ones, and a couple of just plain dumb ones, and people in the room that know me well know which ones they were. But all in all, it was worth it, I think. And when I attended my first AGDC in 2002, I'd been in the role around 2 weeks, and it was truly a baptism of fire in the sense that I met a lot of people in a very short space of time. I hosted the first GDAA Government Industry Roundtable, where we pushed and started lobbying for support for E3. And I was initiated into the well-established ritual of the time of the Nerf gun shootout at the end of the conference centre, closely followed by a very late night at the casino, where I learned that essentially game developers like to party hard, play pool, gamble, and stay up all night. And the last couple of nights have reinforced that original perception. And this is pretty much this is my experience pretty much all over the world actually with these guys. I mean, GDC, E3, China, Japan, wherever we went, that's how we played. Well, how they played, I always went home at 2 o'clock, as people know. So for me, it is fitting and a nice bookend in a way after 4 years to attend this industry conference and have the opportunity to say, thank you and farewell to a lot of people that I've worked with. It's been a great privilege for me personally to work for this industry and to work for you guys and to represent the industry both publicly, both here and internationally. I've worked with a lot of really great people and I've made a lot of good friends, and I expect to stay friends, beyond here, and that's really been appreciated. I once worked with someone who said that in every job, if you manage to make 1 or even 2 friends and keep them post that job, then you're doing well. But I really feel with this industry, I like to think that I made a lot more than 2 friends. So, but we'll see. I do believe the industry can be proud of its achievements, and in my 4 years with the GDAA, we've seen the industry grow from 700 to 1,600 people nationally, so it's more than doubled. And I think that's an amazing achievement. I think people ought to be really proud of that and reflect on that. And I've also seen so many small studios that I've worked with and got to know, such as Firemanton, Big Ant and Half Brick, for example, grow from a small handful of guys, to staff of 30 plus, and most of those in the past 2 years. And at the same time, watch Chrome, for example, nearly doubling to become the largest studio in Australia. So I think that all our profile raising at efforts at GDC and E3 and locally, and we've tried to do as much PR and media as we've been able to, have paid off. And given the relative size of our industry compared with other sectors, our export figures are significant, and I think they'll only continue to grow. I do believe that this industry and you guys have a great future, and I very much enjoyed the previous panel in terms of, despite all the problems with publishers and nightmare stories, I mean, there are still lots of amazing opportunities out there for everybody. But I also know very well the real challenges that lie ahead, and I've talked before and over the past couple of days about the challenges of attracting talented people and investment. But I think underlying that is another set of challenges that the industry really need to rise to, and that is, number one, the need to work together as a united industry, maintaining one voice, keeping in mind the big picture while balancing the day-to-day bottom line realities of running a business. I don't think that no one studio in Australia can survive and be successful without the survival and success of many other studios. Number two, to all the CEOs, executive producers and producers out there, park your egos, at least temporarily. By all means, sing about success, but don't let that get in the way of lifting your game, if you pardon the pun. And that applies to every single studio, without exception. And finally, number three, nurture your creative talent. There's a lot of it in this room, there's a lot of it in this industry. Improve production and design processes, and continue to play hard. I wanted to finish with something really profound and funny, and a couple of people in the room know that I spent a few days, I went looking for a quote or something that I could leave you with, and I Googled and I did a whole bunch of stuff, and I looked at Mark Twain and Einstein and Oscar Wilde and The Family Guy and The Simpsons, and this morning I listened to Eskimo Joe on Rage, hoping for inspiration.